Good morning, Baltimore and beyond. I'm Delegate Stephanie Smith, Chair of the Baltimore City House Delegation to the Maryland General Assembly, and we are having a hearing today on Friday, March 19th, where we will be briefed by our State's Attorney, Madam State's Attorney Marilyn J. Mosby. We also have some brief, minutes to approve, as well as a brief voting session on a bill, but we want to begin with a briefing and presentation by our State's Attorney. So welcome and good morning.
Good morning, Madam Chair, Vice Chair, City Delegation members. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to present before you today my legislative agenda, as well as our annual report. I hope that you all have received it. We sent it to you all electronically. You are actually the first to receive it. We actually have not sent it out yet, but we will be doing so this week, early next week. But most importantly, I want to say thank you for working with my office to continue to improve public safety in the criminal justice system across the state. I'm humbled to be the state's attorney for Baltimore City, and unfortunately, last year was unlike any other year that we've ever experienced, which is why we are here virtually. Since taking office in 2015, my team and I have remained committed to ensuring one standard of justice for all, regardless of race, sex, religion, and occupation. That commitment remained unwavering even in the face of a global pandemic and controversial presidential election and nationwide civil unrest. Making our streets safer is a priority. And so last year, in March of 13th, Chief Judge Barbera issued an administrative order announcing a statewide closure of the courts to the public in Baltimore City due to the pandemic. And since that time, the courts have intermittently opened to some capacity and then closed again, right? So as of April 26th, we will be in full operational mode yet again in circuit court. We do not have jury trials. What we have had in the past year is bail reviews and motions hearings and guilty pleas, but for the most part, the court has not been fully functional. Despite these limitations, the state's attorney's office still processed 4,284 criminal cases in circuit court last year. Prior to the pandemic, our conviction rates were, and I guess this is where my presentation is, I don't know how to share screens and all of that. So I'll
share the screen, just a moment.
Okay, yeah, you can put it up. So prior to that, what we had was the conviction rates in 2019 and going into 20, our felony conviction rate was 90%. Homicide conviction rate was 81%. Let me make sure I got this back up. Sorry about that. Okay, here we go. And so now can we move? Yep, there you go. There we go. There we go. The Major Investigations Unit, which focuses on criminal enterprises, was 98%. Our Gun Violence Enforcement Division, which houses the Baltimore police detectives in our office, was 91%. Our Narcotics Unit was 98%. Our Special Victims Unit was 96%. And I tell you this not as the barometer of our success, because we don't measure our success by conviction rate. We measure our success by the justice that we invoke and pursue every single day in the courts and for the system of equity in the criminal justice system. But in addition to those conviction rates, one of the priorities for our office has been and will continue to be supporting and protecting victims and witnesses of crime. In October, I'm sure that you all saw, we launched the second phase of You're Not Alone, Together We're Stronger campaign, continuing the public education push to remind residents about the support and services for victims and witnesses of crime in Baltimore City. Since 2015, the SAO has secured over $7.9 million in Victims of Crime Act funding, including $50,000 in COVID relief funding for personal protection equipment. These grants have allowed us to double the size of the Victim Witness Unit. We now have victim witness advocates in every single one of our divisions. And in the past 2 years, this has allowed us to serve 34 times the number of victims and witnesses that we served in 2015 when my administration first started. Last year alone, we served over 8,000 individuals virtually. And so, provided over 1,715 grief counseling sessions because in the past 2 years, because we have the only family bereavement center in the entire state of Maryland out of a state's attorney's office. Balancing public health and safety was definitely a priority for us during this global pandemic. as I stated before, our barometer of success is not measured by conviction rates, but the pursuit of justice. And as administrators of the criminal justice system, we have to be convicted to ensuring and committed to justice over convictions and public safety, which is why during the start of this global pandemic, we were forewarned and we coordinated with public health experts nationally and at Johns Hopkins. And we were forewarned that the jails and the prisons were going to become a major flashpoint for the virus, and it was. The risk that the jails and the prisons intensifying the spread of of this virus was known, and we saw that all across the country, and it posed a greater risk to the community. So on March 18th, I instructed my prosecutors to immediately dismiss any charges and release individuals arrested for nonviolent offenses that pose no threat to public safety to reduce COVID-19. We came out with our own set of decarceral guidelines, including enumerated several offenses which we would not be prosecuting, which includes drug possession, prostitution, trespassing, minor traffic offenses, opening container, rogue and vagabond, urinating and defecating in public. What we wanted to emphasize was that people need to understand and recognize that for far too long, as we're talking about policing in this country, we have relied on the police to respond to every social ill of society. That has been our default, is to criminalize individuals for what should be public health issues. And so understanding and recognizing that these low-level offenses had absolutely nothing to do with public safety, what we were about to do was to potentially expose police, as well as the staff within the central booking, to individuals who were likely to become go in and out of the jails within a matter of 24 hours, which made absolutely no sense. In addition to the enumerated offenses, we expanded our bail criteria to ask for individuals to only be held without bail when they pose public safety risks. So we dismissed over 1,000 pending cases, quashed over 1,400 open and pending warrants for these low-level offenses, called upon the governor to develop a comprehensive plan to depopulate the jails and prisons, which has led to the release of over 700 individuals. And I'm excited because we can now look at the data. We did all of this last year, and what the data shows is that we've seen an 80% decrease in drug arrests, a 37% decrease in the number of individuals going in and out of the jail, and a 30% decrease in violent crime. Like, I need you guys to understand that is major, because while violent crime is going up across the country and major municipalities, it has gone down in the city of Baltimore, which proves that these low-level offenses never had anything to do with public safety. And we're now able to utilize those limited law enforcement resources and focus on violent crime. So finally, during this global pandemic, one of the things that we did last year as well is that we hired the second in command at the Office of Public Defender, Becky Feldman, and created a sentencing review unit that evaluates the excessive sentences imposed upon juvenile lifers and the elderly inmate population, which you all know is disproportionately Black. Thus far, we've supported the release of 4 individuals, including the longest serving female prisoner in the state of Maryland. And as you all are aware, and I've presented before you before, we had the first conviction integrity unit in the entire state of Maryland, which was dedicated to actual claims of innocence. And since the start of my administration, we have exonerated 10 individuals who have served cumulatively 270 years in jail and in prison for crimes they did not commit. In addition to the ensuring justice, we have a generation that is raised in a pandemic, and we're going to remain committed to breaking the school to prison pipeline. My office has made significant investments in our youth to engage them in positive aspects of the criminal justice system. Right now, the application process is open for our junior state's attorney program. This is our 6-week program that we've been doing for the past 7 years. We've touched almost 300 young people through this program, where they start in the 911 call center, evidence control room, Foxtrot, Federal Circuit, District Court. At the culmination of the 6 weeks, they do a mock trial competition at the University of Baltimore School of Law, where they can see themselves as judges and prosecutors and police. Last year, we did that virtually, and we partnered with the Mayor's Office of Employment Development, and we actually pay these young people to go through that program. That application process is right now, and it has just been expanded extended. So please, if you can get that information to your constituents, I think that we want to ensure that we're keeping our young people productive, especially as we've seen an increase in the number of young people right now who are being impacted. I don't know what just happened. Are you guys still there?
Yeah, we see you.
Oh, okay. Yeah. The screen went black. I apologize. Just as we've seen, the number of young people that are being killed and or are responsible for doing the killings in Baltimore City. And so through that program, one of the things that I wanted to highlight and that you'll see in the annual report is that, 95% of the young people that have gone through our program have graduated high school. 95% are either in college or on a career track. 33% of those currently in college are pursuing a degree in criminal justice. Like, this program is working. And so, we would love for you all to ensure that you are informing your constituents so that they can also be a part of it. Of course, our Be More pop-ups is something that we have continued to do. You all know that there was an increase, and there is an increase in violent crime on Friday nights between 7 and 9 o'clock for young people, especially in the summertime. We did this last year virtually to ensure, and we called upon celebrities and had interviews. The young people would interview the guests. We're going to do that again this year. That program we've touched more than 7,000 young people through that. And then last but certainly not least, guys, and this is the legislative agenda part, right? Ensuring justice and transforming protest to policy. As we all witnessed the unrest across the globe this past summer following the deaths of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor and so many others, I was called upon nationally regarding my advocacy for police accountability reform. In September, I testified before Maryland General Assembly's work group to address police reform and accountability, advocating for the repeal of LEABOR, better whistleblower protections, statewide information sharing on misconduct cases, and our vital reform measures investing in our future, despite the challenges that were presented by the global pandemic. We were able to advocate, and we're still advocating. And so from a priority perspective, I want to thank you all for those individuals who have listened, and most of you, which was a huge sort of victory, I think, for the state of Maryland. It's not yet passed, but I am hopeful. HB 670 and 671, the Police Reform and Accountability Act, passed the House. It's to be heard in the Senate, likely to go to conference committee. I know that this is something that was majored, but the biggest piece for me in this bill is that it creates an independent investigative unit in the state government to investigate police misconduct that results in serious bodily harm or death. The independent unit turns the investigation over to the Office of the State's Attorney, who has the right to prosecute these cases. So I'm really, really, really hopeful that that will pass. Of course, HB, I guess the number is not accurate, but the correctional services, parole, life imprisonment, it passed the House. Thank you. I appreciate you guys. It passed the Senate JPR. It's to be voted on the Senate floor very soon. Of course, we know that Maryland needs to depoliticize the parole process by removing the governor from the equation. And so, that was one of the reasons why I created the sentencing review unit out of my office. This is going to go a very long way. Of course, the exoneree compensation passed the House. Again, thank each and every one of you. It passed the Senate, and we are waiting for that final vote, but it mandates the Maryland Board of Public Works to provide monetary compensation for those wrongly convicted and incarcerated. As I stated, we've had 10 of them, cumulatively serving 270 years in jail for crimes they did not commit. We're waiting on action from the House on the Juvenile Restoration Act. I'm really, really excited about this because it passed last night through the Senate. And so it will be coming to you all very soon. It eliminates the juvenile life without parole. As you all are aware of the statistics, again, this was the reason and the rationale behind the sentencing review unit. One of the things this one was voted out of the committee and will be voted in the House as well, is the Child Interrogation Protection Act, HB 315 and Senate Bill 136. This bill requires that children be treated as children in our criminal justice system, and parents be notified when their children are in custody to strengthen juvenile and strengthens the right of counsel to juveniles. There is an inextricable link between young people and wrongful convictions. 8 out of the last 10 exonerations out of my office that have occurred during my tenure have involved testimony from juvenile witnesses. And so we need to codify reforms that strengthen youth interrogation process and safeguards to prevent miscarriages of justice. And the last that I know that you guys will be looking into is Senate Bill 600, Maryland Police Accountability Act. And I am not opposed to what is currently being proposed in this act, which requires that the Office of State's Attorney have jurisdiction over investigation and prosecution of police misconduct cases. And in the event that we decline to charge, we then turn it over to the state prosecutor. I think that this is the best approach for not only the need for prosecutorial oversight, right? But when it comes, and I'm not afraid of prosecutorial oversight because I know that we do our jobs. We are one of the only offices that when we decline to charge these types of cases, publishes that information online with a rationale for the citizens to view. And so I'm not opposed to what is currently being proposed in this legislation. We are waiting for action in the Senate on the House Bill 231 and Senate Bill 46, Crimes, Mitigation, and Defense, Race, Color, National Origin, Sex, Gender, Identity, Sexual Orientation. Thanks to you all, it passed out of the House. We're waiting for a vote in JPR. As you all are aware, it's establishing the discovery or perception or belief of about another person's race, color, national origin, sex, gender, identity, or sexual orientation does not constitute legally adequate provocation to mitigate a killing from the crime of murder to manslaughter, nor is it a defense to the crime of assault in any degree, as we are seeing these hate crimes pop up across the country, right? This is incredibly important, an incredibly important piece of legislation. So again, I want to thank you for your action on this, and hopefully we'll have some action in the Senate. I know that this is also passed the House. The HB 115 vehicle laws penalty reduces the criminalization of poverty by lowering the penalties on default judgments and the display of canceled, revoked, or suspended licenses. We know that we're also looking for some action in the Senate on HB 324, criminal law marijuana possession. As you all are aware, we have not been prosecuting mere possession of marijuana in the city of Baltimore since 2019. We have one of the most progressive sort of policies, regardless of weight and regardless of the defendant's criminal record. And we are very much supportive of legalization of marijuana in light of the fact that what we know is that there's a public safety value. It's counterproductive to limited resources that we have in law enforcement. And we know that these laws have been discriminately enforced on poor Black and brown people, especially in the city of Baltimore. And so with that, I know that we have no action yet taken on a few other legislative items that we're pushing, which is, and I hope to have some sort of resolve, is the overdose prevention sites. I know, I've had the awesome opportunity of going to Germany and to Portugal and actually seeing what this does. It saves lives. And so, when we consider the fact that in 2018, the opioid-related intoxication deaths were 798 unintentional deaths alone in our city, that is insane, because that same year, it was more than double the homicide rate. Like, people are dying in our city and we need to address it. And so, that's something that I've been advocating for. It's a little controversial, but I'm used to controversy, but it's something that we should be addressing. No action has yet been taken on that. And then, of course, the Good Samaritan immunity, HB 212, providing criminal immunity for providing, assisting, or seeking assistance for medical emergencies involving the ingestion or use of alcohol or drugs. And so with that, I hope that I was expeditious in my presentation. And if you have any questions for me, I just want to thank you all for the opportunity to be able to present our agenda.
That was a lot in a little bit of time. So yes, I definitely think it was jam-packed with a lot of good information. I wanted to just lift up to ensure someone on your team sees this, but Delegate Bridges just wanted to ensure that we got a link to the Junior State's Attorneys Program, okay, any type of social media collateral, that we can also share in our networks. Because I didn't know that the applications were still open, so I'm glad to know that we can still push people towards that opportunity. Are there any additional questions? Gosh, y'all really worn out by this session. I mean, y'all are just worn out. Oh my goodness.
I think it's early, Madam Chair.
Wait, I have, Madam Chair.
Yes, by all means, Delegate.
Could I just ask one quick question? Thank you. Thanks so much for being here. I really appreciate it. I just wanted to ask you about, obviously there's a lot of speedy trial issues going on right now, which is, you know, really disturbing, I think, probably to all of us, and it feels very out of our control. But one of the things that I'm curious about is there are juveniles who are, you know, being kept at the detention center who haven't been given a trial, and so are, you know, presumably, you know, presumed innocent. And, you know, I know some have been there now for over a year. And so I just wondered if you had any idea if there was any plan or how the judiciary or how your office was going to work to just ensure that as soon as jury trials are open again, we can get these kids started, you know, expeditiously so that they can have the trial that they're entitled to. I just wondered if you had any thoughts or if you can shed any light on how that process will unfold.
Thank you for your question, Delegate. The one thing I can say is, unfortunately, we are at the mercy of the courts. And so, again, the jury trials will resume on April 26th. I know that they intend to specially set trials. And as of right now, they're going to do it in a manner in which 4 trials will be set a week. The one thing that we've tried to impress upon my prosecutors is to reevaluate your cases, right? I want to make sure all of our T's are crossed, our I's are dotted, and we're ready to proceed to trial. And there should be no postponement requests. We need to make sure that when it comes time for us to be specially set, we are ready. And I also asked my team, and Delegate Attar could attest to this, that they assess their cases, right? If it's a weak case or one in which, you know, the outcome shouldn't necessarily be jail, then we kind of made that assessment, which is why we dismissed over 1,000 cases thus far. With regard to juvenile, it's the same situation. We're at the mercy of the courts. But the one thing that I will emphasize is that the individuals that are being held, Delegate, are individuals who are charged as they are juveniles, but they're charged as adults, because they're charged with some of the most heinous sort of offenses, right? So those individuals, by statute, we are required to charge them the way that we do, and those are the individuals that are facing life sentences. So murder, first-degree rape, you know, all of the carjacking, armed robberies, all of those offenses that fall within the statute. So those are again, the only assessment that we've made in ensuring that we want to get folks out are whether or not they pose public safety risks. So the individuals that are currently, even if they are juveniles and they are being held, they
right.
safety risk.
Okay, thank you.
Delegate Attar.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And thank you, Madam State's Attorney. I do want to attest to, I think it was, my days are all mixed up, but I think just yesterday alone, we got another email reminding us to go through all the cases, make sure we have all our lines dotted, our I's dotted and our T's crossed. And I also wanted to thank you for all your hard work in reducing violent crime. I know that's not easy, but that's a goal of all of ours. So thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions for the good of the order? Well, I thank you, Madam State's Attorney, for taking the time to kind of brief us on what you're up to. It's a lot going on. And we know this is a particularly just trying time because COVID is just another layer of complications all on top of already kind of challenging landscape, as Delegate Lerman pointed out. So thank you for providing some clarity, because I know there's been a lot of concern, you know, just in the public square about those juveniles. And I'm glad to have some additional context for that. I think at this point, I want to let you return to, I know the many things on your plate. We have a little bit more business to attend to, but thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. I appreciate you all. Keep up the great work.
Thank you so much. Okay, at this point, we do have a quorum to engage in official business of the delegation. So the first order of business is to actually approve the amendments from the minutes from the last hearing. So I think everyone received those minutes, not only yesterday, but I think, you know, you got a couple of emails, including those updated minutes. Is there a motion to adopt the minutes from the last hearing?
So moved.
So moved.
Second? Is there a second?
Yep.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, those hearing minutes are adopted. Thank you. At this time, we will actually have a brief a voting session on an amendment on a bill we've already heard, but committee wanted to do another amendment. This is a bill from our newest member of the team, Delegate Ambry. So I want to give our council, our staff council, an opportunity to just review the amendments that were already circulated with you and just remind people about the bill's context.
Thank you, Madam Chair. House Bill 1293, Baltimore City West North Avenue Development Authority, is a bill from Delegate Ambry. House Bill 1293 establishes the West North Avenue Development Authority in Baltimore City to support the development and approval of a comprehensive neighborhood revitalization plan in the target area and the buffer zone. The bill establishes the composition, staffing, and chair of the authority and prohibits a member of the authority from receiving compensation. Finally, the bill authorizes the authority to coordinate with the residents of the target area in the development in developing the comprehensive neighborhood plan and requires a report on the comprehensive neighborhood plan to the authority or by the authority to the governor, the Senate Budget and Tax Committee, and the House Appropriations Committee by July 1st, 2026. There is one amendment. As amended, House Bill 1293 provides that the president of Coppin State University or the president's designee shall serve as the chair of the authority, and also authorizes the authority to manage appropriated funds from the city of Baltimore and the state. Finally, it authorizes the authority to modify the boundaries of the target area and the buffer zone, subject to a majority vote of all the members of the authority.
Thank you. Is there any discussion related to the amendment as proposed? Seeing none, is there a motion to adopt the amendment?
Move favor.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Roll call.
Delegate Ambry.
Yes.
Delegate Anderson. Delegate Attar.
Yes.
Delegate Boyce.
Yes.
Delegate Chanel Branch.
Yes.
Delegate Talmadge Branch.
Yep.
Delegate Bridges.
Yes.
Delegate Klippinger. Delegate Conaway.
Yes.
Delegate Haynes.
Yes.
Delegate Lewis.
Yes.
Delegate Learman.
She noted in the comments that she had to jump off because I think she was in transit, and she said she agreed to the amendment. It's in the chat feature.
Good morning. How are you? Oh, it's good. Is it Friday? Yeah.
Delegate McIntosh. Delegate Rosenberg.
Yes.
Delegate Wells. Chair Smith.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Is there a motion to move this bill as amended?
Move the bill, Madam Chair.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any nay?
Aye.
Okay, roll call.
Delegate Ambry.
Yes.
Delegate Anderson. Delegate Attar.
Yes.
Delegate Boyce.
Yes.
Delegate Chanel Branch.
Yes.
Delegate Talmadge Branch.
Yes.
Delegate Bridges.
Yes.
Delegate Klippinger. Delegate Klippinger, I think you're on mute.
Oh.
Sorry, Delegate Klippinger?
Yes.
Yes. Delegate Conaway.
Yes.
Delegate Haynes.
Yes.
Delegate Lewis.
Sorry, I'm here. Yes.
Delegate
Yes.
Learman. Delegate McIntosh. Delegate Rosenberg. Delegate Rosenberg, you're on mute.
Yes. Thank you.
Delegate Wells. Chair Smith.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, great. So we'll make sure we get everything you need to the committee, Delegate Ampry. The word of the day is expeditiously. Third time usage and delegation. I'm going to keep using it. We started with the state's attorney, Delegate Learman. I wanted to keep it moving. Are there any announcements by any of our subcommittee chairs? I believe we've got all the business of alcohol settled. So I think that Delegate Clippinger's out the woods there, and Delegate Wells and Learman are gone. So at this point, I would say we just need a motion to conclude and adjourn.
Don't move.
Second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? You go be great. Everyone, have a
Thank
good
you.
one.
See you later.
See you all later.